Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I am your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that's a completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed organic conversation about serious strategies for serious sellers of any level in the Amazon world. And if you're hearing all that background noise, you're not watching this on YouTube. I am literally in the Indian Ocean right now. I am in the Maldives. You guys know what that means, all right? Episode 200 was the introduction to the Maldives Honeymoon launch strategy. Now it's episode 250, so we're doing it special. We are back here in the Maldives to record episode 250, and we've got some big announcements today. I got something that's really cool to share to you, especially those of you who are Helium 10 users. But let me just get out of this ocean here and get to my mini podcast recording studio, and let me catch you up on all that has been going on with the Maldives Honeymoon launch strategy over the last few months, and now something integrated into Helium 10 to help you utilize this strategy even more. All right, you guys ready to go? Let's get into it. All right, so again, Maldives action here. All right, what are we talking about when we talk about Maldives? Why did I fly thousands and thousands of miles again to film this episode? Well, let me just set the kind of topic straight about what we're talking about with product launches, all right? This launch methodology is not just about launch, even though we call it the Maldives launch method, all right? When we launch on Amazon, this is like a term that Amazon sellers use when we refer to when we first get started on Amazon with a new product, like what we are doing in order to get to page one for the main keywords. As we know, getting to page one for your main keywords is kind of like all important, because that's how, you get eyeballs on your product, right? How can anybody find you on Amazon if you're not on page one? People don't scroll to page 2, 3, 4, 5. So for years, Amazon sellers have been, grappling with the idea of, well, how do I get to page one? All right, how do I get there? Because once I get to page one, I'm confident that I can get sales because I've got a great offering, I've got great images, my price is great, there's low competition, whatever the fact is. All of that doesn't matter unless you can get to page one. So back in the old days, people would do discounted giveaways, all right, to get to page one. That you would give like a coupon of 70, 80, 90% off, and then that you would get a lot of people that way to go buy your product after clicking a two-step URL. All right, that was how people did it back in the old days, a two-step URL. And that would usually get you to page one if you did enough. And that was how eventually Manny Coates, the founder of Helium 10, came up with the CPR 1.0 and 2.0. It was a formula that told you how many units you had to give away. I put it under quotes, giveaway, because you're doing it at almost a very steep discount where you're losing all your money on it, right? But so how many units to give away after using a two-step URL of a certain keyword to give you the best chance to get to page one. And ever since then, that's always been in the Helium 10 suite of tools, the CPR number. Over the years, people discovered that there's this honeymoon period on Amazon, though. Like when a listing's in first 1, 2, 3 months, there's debate on how long it lasts. Like you get a little bit more oomph when you're doing any kind of launch methodology, all right? Honeymoon period is not some Amazon term. This is a made-up term by Amazon sellers that, kind of reflects what happens at the beginning. Kind of like, in the beginning of a, new marriage, right? There's the honeymoon period. Everything is great, and you whisk your hair and it's like the most amazing thing in the world, but 5 years down the road, you whisk your hair and your husband or wife is like, what are you doing? Like, you look dumb, right? Because the honeymoon period is over. That's how it is on Amazon too. In the first few months, it seems that you get more bang for your buck when you're doing any kind of launch methodology, be it PPC, be it whatever the case is, right? Advertising, etc. So what I came up with a couple years ago, I started doing research into this, was how not only was there like a honeymoon effect, right? But there was like a next level honeymoon effect sometimes when it came to launching and ranking or relaunching or even just doing optimization down the road. And so I thought about it and I was like, what can we call this? And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to call this the Maldives Honeymoon, because if you Google, what is the most the most, like next level honeymoon destination there is, usually the Maldives. And thus, right here I am at the Waldorf Astoria here in the Maldives. Shout out to them. Thank you for letting me use this facility to record this twice now. And so the Maldives honeymoon launch strategy was born. Now, what does this strategy consist of? I'm going to go over that really quick. I'm going to go over some recent examples since the last time we went over this. And then I'm going to talk about some brand new, exciting things that have come and are coming to Helium 10 to help with this. All right, Maldives, what does it consist of? There's a lot of different things, and I talked about most of these in episode 200 of the Serious Sellers podcast. So if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're listening to this on your podcast, go back and look for episode 200, and I go into detail. But in a nutshell, some of the effects of where I got this like next level honeymoon effect when I was doing launching, where I could just do almost nothing and get to page 1. What are some of these effects, or what are some of these methods that I was mixing and matching in order to get those effects? All right, number 1 is title. All right. It seems like in the last couple of years, Amazon has put more of an emphasis or more of importance, especially at the beginning of an Amazon listing's life, into the keywords that you have in phrase form in your title. Now, title has always been important, all right, but it just seemed like it was kind of like there's just been so much emphasis by Amazon lately on it, where even the littlest tweaks can have big effects. All right, so that was the first thing. Do you have the keyword you're targeting in your promotion or your launch in your title in phrase form? In a couple minutes here, I'm going to give you guys some crazy experiment that kind of illustrates how much this is the case. All right, I talked before about how we even discovered that Amazon has this metric where they score listings based on keywords. There's like a scoring system, an internal scoring system that Amazon has based on a keyword of, I don't know if you want to call it relevance or anything. It doesn't say relevance, so I'm not gonna try and say that it's a relevance, but it literally has a score in Amazon's back end that I discovered in the API that talks about the title. But here's the thing: it's only if it's in the title, this keyword in the title, and in phrase form. That's the only way you can get ranked on it. So it's crazy. Like you could have a coffin shelf, but if your title is Manny's Mysterious Oddities Shelf-Shaped Coffin, you are not even ranked under this ranking system for coffin shelf because it's not in phrase form. So again, really important title. I'm going to show you guys something in a couple minutes that illustrates that I didn't have in the last episode. The secondary thing, though, is not just if you have the keyword in phrase form in your title, but how many people on page 1 have that keyword you're targeting in phrase form in your title. That was the second part of the Maldives honeymoon strategy that I talked about in episode 200. And again, guys, these are not, I don't want to use the word game changing. It could be game changing for some of you if you've never, realized these things, but this is not something that I made up or I invented or anything. All right. I hate people who try and like claim that they invented some new methodology or something. It's not. All right. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sit here and do that. These are strategies that I just have been testing over time. I'm sure a lot of you have been using it, for years. All right. Amazon titles are not something new. Right. However, I'd like to say that I'm one of the first people to try and put this in the forefront to get this on the top of people's mind, right? Anyways, title, how many titles on page 1, how many in your competition have that keyword that you're targeting in phrase form? The more there are, the harder it is to get on page 1, or the harder it is to rank, the harder it is to compete on page 1. For example, the one I use is collagen peptides, of course, right? Collagen peptides, if you're trying to get to page 1, it's going to be a little bit harder. You've got like half, if not 3/4 of the listings on page 1 all have collagen peptides in the listing title, right? In phrase form. Now, go to something else like coffin brush holder or something like that. There's probably only like 1 or 2 who have that in phrase form in the title. So if you have it in phrase form in your title and only 2 out of the other 50 listings on page 1 have it, you're going to have a quicker path to page 1 and getting ranked. All right. So that's probably the most important part of the Maldives honeymoon strategy. Another part that I talked about before was starting your listing only the day before you are going to get sales for it. All right. So the way that I would do that is that I would have everything shipped to me in my first order from my factory in China. I would not create the ASIN. I do not create the ASIN. I don't label them in China. I get them in my warehouse. Then I create the listing just so I can put the FN SKU. I sticker them myself and I send it to Amazon. And it's going to take a week to get to Amazon. But that very next day that I create the listing, I have my FBM, my Fulfilled by Merchant SKU active on there, and I'm getting sales. I'm getting sales from day one of my listing. So that was what I had said that I did. Now, this caused some confusion out there as a lot of people were like, oh man, that's crazy. I can never do that because I live outside of the country. I don't have a good 3PL that I could use. However, what people missed was I did not say that was like necessary. None of these things that in the Maldives are like, oh, unless you do every single one, you're not going to get the quote unquote Maldives effect. No. These all work together to help, but if you're missing something here or there, it's not the end of the world. So I had said in the original episode 200 that this is not like a make or break thing. If you cannot start the listing on day zero, it's just for me, that worked 100% of the time. The thing that worked 85% of the time was if I went ahead and created my listing in China, 2 months earlier, and then I just closed it, suppressed it, set the launch date in Amazon for the future for when I thought it would start. And that usually worked. But again, for me, 100% of the time, and since I have my own warehouse, 100% is better than 85%. A plus is better than B plus, right? And that's the reason why I did it. But if you don't have the means to do that, don't feel that, oh no, I can't get the Maldives honeymoon, all right? And just to make sure, I had tested that 85% it was like a year and a half ago. So I hadn't done it in a while. So when people were asking me about it, I was like, you know what? I better make sure that still works. I've heard of other people doing it. So sure enough, on my Project 5K account, I launched a new set of straws. The guys, check back to Project 5K. You'll find all about that case study. But I launched some new straws, real simple product. I created the ASIN as soon as I ordered the product, 2 months before it actually got there. Okay, and then I just closed it, suppressed it, and I set my launch date in the future. And then as soon as the product got here and got to Amazon, I went ahead and really launched it, unsuppressed and all that stuff, and I still have the Maldives effect. So it looks like it still does work that way. All right. So again, me personally, I like having my listing or my product come in and then not making the listing until the very day that I'm going to start to get sales. But if you don't have the means to do that, it's not the end of the world. All right. It's not the end of the world. All right, so that's another one of the Maldives effect. Another one is getting relevance to similar products, especially in niches where it might be a little bit not that much competition, or Amazon might not have that much history. So I gave this example before of how if I really wanted from day one to hopefully have a good chance that Amazon is going to relate my product to certain keywords or to certain other products, right? So that if I have activity on these keywords, hopefully there's more bang for the buck, is I examine the top listings, like the top 4, 5, 6 listings that are similar to me, that are ranking and doing well for the keywords that I want to target. All right, I already know from before I launch what keywords I'm going to target. All right, and you guys should know that too. So what I do is I take those 3, 4, 5, and I use Cerebro to find out where those listings are in the top 5, other than the keywords that I'm targeting. I already know the keywords I'm targeting, right? And I know which ones are in the top 5 there, but I look at what are the most searched phrases that those listings are also in the top 5 or top 10, top half of page 1. And then I try and optimize my listing towards those keywords. Again, the thought process is when a listing is new, Amazon doesn't really know. There's no activity. Amazon doesn't know what to relate your product to. So the more signals you can send Amazon that you're relatable to certain products or certain keywords, obviously that's going to work well for you. And that's the kind of theory behind the honeymoon period or the Maldives honeymoon period. So again, to get more bang for your buck, really relate your product through listing optimization to the other keywords of the top performers for that keyword that you're targeting. I hope that makes sense to you guys. All right. So let me give you an example, because I know this might sound a little bit crazy here and I'm talking fast. Anyways, coffin shelf. All right. I want to launch another coffin shelf. Sure. Of course, I'm going to put coffin shelf in my title. That is a no-brainer, right? But I'm going to look at the top 5 listings right now for coffin shelf, and I'm going to look what are the top searched keywords that those listings are also on the top 5 results for. Maybe it's coffin, or maybe it's Gothic decor. All right. maybe one or two of those listings are in the top 5 on Gothic decor. Well, I'm going to make sure that Gothic decor is possibly also in my title, and at least, other places in my listing and the search terms. All right. I want to optimize my listing around the other keywords. So that my thought process is, hey, Amazon is like grasping at straws, trying to figure out what is this product going to be relevant for until there's enough data. Well, if they see that, hey, wait a minute, look at this listing, it's kind of optimized for these keywords. Who are the best listings for these keywords? Well, it's this, this, and this. All right. So again, the thought process is I'm targeting coffin shelf, but I'm getting a little bit more oomph because I've optimized my listing around the other keywords that the current best performers for coffin shelf are also ranking and performing for. All right. That is another aspect of the Maldives honeymoon. There's different ones. Again, guys, go back to episode 200 and I talk more in depth about the different aspects of this Maldives honeymoon. And this is not just about launch. All right. I have found that a lot of these things work for older listings sometimes too, and even relaunches, all right, of an older listing that maybe you were out of stock on. But one thing, I told you guys I had some information for you about how I proved again how important the title is. And it's just like mind-boggling, all right? So this is something I did way back in February. It was way after the original Maldives episode, but so I did this in February. And if you guys are watching this on YouTube, I'm going to try and throw some of these screenshots up so you guys can kind of visualize this a little bit more. On February 12th at 12:05 a.m. Actually, the screenshot says 3:05 a.m., but for whatever reason, the Seller Central is 3 hours ahead of my time zone. I created this fake listing, all right? A fake listing with one product, and it was in the Project X account. And I put the title, all right? Gee's Chicken Coop, black metal chicken something or other, right? It was just some random product. That was a nonsense product. But at 12:05 a.m. You guys can see it in Seller Central in this screenshot. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, I created this listing, and it was so new that it didn't even have an image. Like, it had an image, but it didn't even process through Amazon, but it was still showing up. It was still showing up in the search results. Now, at 12, let me see if I can see my notes here. 12:17 a.m., if I'm looking at this correctly, 12:17 a.m. So this is 12 minutes after this listing went live, all right? I did a search for Gee's Chicken Coop, all right? Now, that was the first 3 words of the title, Gee's Chicken Coop. That's the brand name, right? And, this goes back to the title being important. There's only one. There's only one other product I figured that had Gee's Chicken Coop in the title, and that's the other Project X, egg tray that you guys, all know about. All right, and sure enough, all right, I typed in Gee's Chicken Coop, and organic position, page 1, position 1 was the egg tray that had been on Amazon at that point for over a year. Right, page 1, position 2, guys. Guess what it was? It was this random product that I just launched 12 minutes ago. It didn't even have an image yet. It says right now in the search results, no image available. But that just the fact that phrase, Gee's Chicken Coop, is so rare and nobody else has it in the title, it got to organic page 1, position 2 in 12 minutes. And, obviously there's no search, find, buy, or 2-step URLs or sponsored ads or anything you can do in 12 minutes. There's not even an image in there, right? So that is just pretty crazy. Now, you might be thinking, if you guys saw this screenshot, it said that there's actually 77 results for Gee's Chicken Coop. So somehow 77 listings are indexed, right? Only. So that's not that many still. That might seem like a lot. Like, how in the world are 77 listings indexed for Gee's Chicken Coop? But, you might think, well, wait a minute. Sure, you can get to page 1, position 2 on a keyword that's so rare that only 77 listings are even indexed. So I was like, you know what? Let me go back to the drawing board and try something else. This is the same day, all right? This is the same night. What I did was I went in and I changed the title slightly, and I changed it so that it had a phrase that I knew would be indexed by a lot of listings. However, I figured nobody would have it in phrase form, all right? And the phrase that I put, again, this is all gibberish, right, guys? But that's why I wanted to prove a point. The phrase I put in there was chicken coop red wire. Chicken coop red wire. Like, I figured, what the heck is that? I mean, chicken and coop and red and wire. I'm sure thousands of listings had that, right? But I figured nobody else had chicken coop red wire. So I changed the title to include those words. And sure enough, if you type in chicken coop red wire, it says, hey, there's over 1,000 results for that, right? It's not 77 like geese chicken coop, 1,000 results because a lot of people are indexed. But guess what, guys? There's no search find buys, no PPC, no anything. As soon as I change the title, within 1 hour, page 1, position 3 was this geese chicken coop random fake product that I did, because I was the only one on page 1 that had chicken coop red wire in phrase form in the title. All right. So this is, guys, this is just something that, again, if this doesn't illustrate how important in the honeymoon period or in the beginning of a listing's life the keywords in the title are, I don't know what's going to prove it to you. But a lot of you guys knew about this. People have been talking about that for Google, and that's why you optimize blog titles for Google. And this is nothing new, but it just seems like lately it's had a lot more of an importance to Amazon. Now, one new thing that I am testing, and I don't have enough data yet. That's why I'm not going to go into detail on it here. But if you remember, I told you about that score I found in Amazon that ranked the titles. I noticed a trend where it increases the more search find buys you do and the more purchases you get, and once you start getting organic rank, it actually increases your ranking in that system of Amazon for a keyword that's in a title. So I don't have enough data. The preliminary data so far is promising, all right? And it's very interesting. It's a trailing history. Like, I get to page 1, position 5 for a keyword, I don't immediately start getting like a very high top rank in this keyword title metric. So I still have about 100 simultaneous tests I'm doing right now that I'm trying to gather this data. So probably by the next time I do another Maldives Honeymoon episode, I'll have that information for you guys. But my preliminary data is very promising. That being said, guys, this is something that we can probably show you. I've been trying to bug our product manager for our keyword tools, Yaxi. I'm like, Yaxi, we need to show this ranking here. So if you guys would find that interesting to kind of see where products are ranking in Amazon's kind of ranking for keywords in the title, make sure to go into Helium 10 and hit the question mark on the very top of the page, and then do submit an idea. And say, hey, I heard on the Serious Sellers podcast that there's this metric that ranks titles, or that ranks keywords in titles. Is there any way that you can tell Yaxi, the product manager, that we would love to have that? And then the more people who tell her, then maybe she doesn't listen to me, but maybe she'll listen to you guys to try and get that in the tools soon. So make sure to do that. All right, so that's something that even if you guys don't ask for it, like I've been asking for it for a while, so I'm sure it's going to come in soon to Helium 10. There's something new that already got added to Helium 10. I'm going to talk about that in a couple seconds. However, before I go further, let me just talk about, I don't want to always just talk about, my success stories. I'm going to do that in a little bit too. But I just threw out a message today in the Helium 10 Facebook group. I was like, hey, anybody with recent good experience with the Maldives Honeymoon launch strategy want to talk about what you guys have found out? Here are a couple of ones that I found. All right, so Kevin from Thailand says, I launched 3 new SKUs in April, all in the same niche. And what I did was I took your keyword list and I searched all the competitors' titles to see how many had the exact keyword in their title. That was gold. I found a 22,000 search volume keyword that none of my competitors had in their title. I put it in the title. Then all I did was 6 purchases of it through a 2-step URL. I didn't even use search find buy. And I did an exact match PPC campaign on that keyword with all 3 SKUs in it. Within 7 days, those SKUs were 1, 2, and 3 organically for that keyword. That's crazy. 22,000 search volume, and you got positions 1, 2, and 3 using the Maldives Honeymoon method. I love it. I love it. And then today, 5 weeks later, they're still top 10 organically. And this helped me to rank on another keyword that had 200,000 search volume. And within a week, without any PPC spend, I was top 10 as well without spending a dime. So awesome. Cheapest ranking ever. That's awesome. All right. So thank you for that, Kevin. Let's see. We got another comment here from Jack from the UK. He says, hey, I launched my first product in January. I implemented the Maldives methodology. And he says, the fun bit was with the title, I added my small target keywords, which quickly gained page 1 in Amazon Choice Love, and in turn ranked me higher for what you would call the castle keywords, and naturally got rank juice on them to the point I went to page 1 very fast. Then I then put those keywords in my title, and I haven't looked back. It works. Thank you, Bradley, and excited for the new podcast. All right, well, awesome, Jack. All right, here's another one. Nikos. I believe Nikos is from Greece, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Nikos from Greece. He says, I actually just ordered my first product. However, before my first product, I actually used the Maldives Honeymoon method on an Amazon KDP when I launched a journal in a very competitive niche. He says, my first page competitors had 20,000, 10,000, 5,000, or even 1,000 reviews. Wow, that's pretty competitive. And so I got to page one using a search, find, buy company with only 30 search, find, buys on 2 keywords, 15,000 search volume and 9,000 search volume. 30 search, find, buy. After 3 days and only 10 on the first one, 15,000 search volume, I got to page one, position 12. All right, so there's a KDP example of the Maldives honeymoon period. All right. The one that I use for all of my search, find, buy campaigns is like I said before, Helium 10 doesn't offer this service, and we probably won't. But so I use azrank.com, and Alina there from AZRank, she sent me a few examples. Now I can't give these keywords here, but she sent me a few examples of some ones that worked. All right, here's one product. There was keywords that had the biggest was 16,000 search volume, and the rest were an average of 3,000 to 4,000. These people launched 6 keywords at once. By the way, I totally forgot about that. That's the other part of the Maldives honeymoon launch strategy, is don't just focus on one keyword. Do like 4 or 5 keywords all at once that are kind of semi-related to each other, and you get more bang for the buck that way. That's what this one person did. The keyword search volume, like I said, was a range between 1,000 and 16,000. And they only did 17 full rebates, full search, find, buys overall for everything, for all those keywords. Every single listing there got to the top 16 of page one, every single one, with barely any giveaways. Here's another product. It looks like they did a launch on a total of 20,000 search volume. And they only, and this is over, looks like 8 different keywords. They only gave away with AZRank about 16 search, find, buy, and they were top 15 on all keywords except one. And on 4 of these keywords, they didn't even give away one search, find, buy, and they still got to the top of page one using that multi-keyword strategy. And what I mean by multi-keyword strategies, like target egg holder and then egg holder countertop, and then wooden egg holder all at the same time. They share the same root words, and then so sometimes these other long tail keywords, you'll get some extra rank juice for those as well. Here's one where they went a little bit harder. All right, so this one, they had a total of only 13,000 searches over 4 keywords. All right, and they actually gave away still, compared to the old days, not a significant amount, compared to the original CPR number of 42 units. All right, 42 units. So that might seem like a lot, right? Compared to these other ones, but I guess they didn't just want to get to the top 16. They want to get to the top. And sure enough, here's the end keyword rank for these ones that they did. Number 1, number 2, number 1, and number 2. All right, page 1, position 1, 1, 2, 1. So like, you want to go a little bit harder, you're going to do even better. Now, what about the ones that I did? All right, for Project X, I did one a couple of months ago for this brand new product that we released. It's a little eggshelf thing under the Project X account. All right, I use the same methodology about finding products by getting inspiration from other websites like Pinterest and Etsy. I found one that looked interesting. I did a test, a PPC test listing, seemed all right, so I launched it. It's not an egg tray, but like an egg actual shelf. All right, so I launched on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 keywords at once. All right, now here's the Maldives part of it. Here's the keywords I launched for: egg rack for fresh eggs, egg holder countertop, wooden egg holder, chicken egg holder, fresh egg holder countertop. You see my methodology there. A lot of them had either the egg rack or the egg holder word as root words, and so I was targeting 2 different sets of keywords that I figured would be giving rank juice to each other. Now overall, I only gave out 44 units. I used AZRank to give away 44 units for all of these keywords total. I mean, remember, that's like 8 keywords there, 8 different keywords that I was launching for. All right, so I'm just looking here how I did. Look at this. Egg rack, I got to page 1, position 2. And that was only after 2 days of the search, find, buy. Egg rack for fresh eggs, I got to page 1, position 1. Egg holder countertop, I got to page 1, position 1. And the other ones 2, 3, and 1. Everything I got to top 4 with barely any giveaways. Now, for example, if you're wondering, like, the original CPR number, guys, the original CPR for some of these was pretty high. All right, it was pretty high. We are talking let me just try and find here. For example, egg holder countertop, the original CPR was 120. All right, remember, that's based on discounted giveaways and two-step URLs, but these are full search, find, buy orders that were full priced. And for that particular keyword, I only gave out 12 units. Sorry, 12 units on that one. So 10% of that CPR. All right, so that was one that I did. I did a bunch also for Project 5K, but actually back on Project X, what I wanted to kind of show was the importance of the title too, or the importance of having Amazon think that you're relevant. So what I did was I took the egg tray, the original Project X egg tray, and it was not indexed for the keyword egg skelter, because obviously it's not an egg skelter. Now, this keyword was not in the title. Egg skelter, I didn't put in the title. Now, I put the same amount in a search, find, buy campaign as egg tray. All right, so egg tray is in the title. Egg skelter is indexed for it. Egg skelter was in the listing and it's indexed and searchable. And one of them, I did kind of a similar amounts on the giveaway. All right. Now for egg tray, even though that actually had more competition, I got to page 1, position 4 off of only 25 giveaways on that one. Egg skelter, much less search volume. I only did 15, but still, it's way less search volume. All right. I only got to page 1, position 24. All right. So again, if it's in the title, you have got it's going to go so much better for you if the keyword that you are targeting is in the title, so that Amazon thinks it's relevant. All right. Egg skelter wasn't in my title. I didn't optimize my listing around other egg skelter listings. So even though I was doing a similar campaign on that keyword for the egg tray, I did not get to the top of page 1. I did countless other Project X and Project 5K. Here's another one I did. Let me see. If you guys want to actually buy this, it's on our Project X account on Amazon. It's an actual podcast microphone that has a Helium 10 logo on it. So we actually got this for our employees, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to go and put this on Amazon just to have some fun with it and do some search, find, buy, test and things like that. And so sure enough, I put on the Helium 10 microphone on Amazon, and I did a search, find, buy, 15 giveaways for a big keyword here, microphone for podcasts. All right, a lot of competition. All right, a lot of competition. I only gave 15 units away, and we got to page 1, position 1 at one point. Now, I didn't keep that going because we're actually kind of priced high compared to the competition. It's a very expensive microphone, but there you have it. Project X, it definitely works. I'm going to be doing another episode soon on what I've been doing for Project 5K. I usually do those one every quarter, and I'll give you guys an update on how the Maldives Honeymoon launch strategy worked for Project 5K. I launched in the last 5 months, maybe another, I want to say 10 products possibly on Project 5K, and every single one, I used the Maldives method. Every single one, the keywords I was targeting, I got to the top half of page 1 with very little effort compared to what normally you would think would be needed to get to page 1. And so I'm really excited about this strategy. Now it's come to the time for the new announcement. All right, this is something that I have been working on with the data scientists here at Helium 10, which we have a lot of, and they're amazing at what they do. But we talked about the CPR number, right? Manny Coates developed that a few years ago. How many units to get to page 1? Give you the best chance to get to page 1 if you were doing giveaways, all right, with discounts and also with two-step URLs. Well, the fact of the matter is people don't use that method hardly anymore. Most people are doing search, find, buy campaigns. Most people are doing full price, rebates. And then just in general, a lot of people are wondering, the people who are just doing PPC, maybe they're not doing these search, find, buy campaigns. How many units does it take to get to page 1 of just normal, literal search, find, buys? If you don't do any kind of special launch and people are just searching and finding, your product on page 3 or 4 or they're finding it in PPC, wow, that was a loud wave there. Anyways, how long or how many units does it take to get to page 1? So over a year ago, I started working by myself and then also with azrank.com. So real shout out to Alina and the azrank.com crew. They really helped me on this project. And we examined and did ourselves. And Helium 10 spent tons of money on this too, doing tests. So, thanks to Boyan and the Helium 10 team for supporting me in this 1 year long case study. But we did over 1,500 product and keyword launches in a little over a year. All right. A lot of them I did personally. Other ones I was just kind of like looking over their shoulder at some people who were doing their own launches. That what we were trying to do was these were all launches that were done with full search, find, buy. All right. That means people were searching for this keyword. They're finding the product and buying it. No URLs, no discounts, no promotional codes. All right. No two-step URLs again. All right. This is just full search, find, buy. And I was just like, hey, we know what the Maldives Honeymoon can do. Right, and we know that search, find, buy is more powerful than just two-step URLs. How many search, find, buy units does it take to get to page 1? It's time for CPR 3.0. So guys, I'm happy to announce that right now, if you are a Helium 10 member, you now have full access to CPR 3.0. This is the culmination of over a year of deep research and deep formulation, and CPR 3.0 now actually includes Maldives Honeymoon metrics. All right. So what's the first thing? We actually have 2 different CPR numbers. So the first CPR number is in magnet and cerebro. All right, magnet and cerebro, just like it's always been. It's just like right there where you guys had your old CPR number. But we've been getting these messages this week, and I've been like telling people like, don't I told customer service, don't spill the beans yet. Just tell them to listen to this episode. But people are like, wait a minute, why is the CPR number so small? And that's the thing. We told you guys before, like some of these keywords. Like, let me just give you guys some examples here of some keywords that we had. Here is a keyword that I see that somebody did, all right? Now, the old CPR on this keyword was 672 because this had a search volume of 30,000, all right? 30,000. And so with the old CPR, if you were doing discounted ones, you need a good 600 units to get to page 1. However, our new CPR for this is only 64 units, all right? This person gave away a little bit under that, and sure enough, got to the top of page 1. All right. So the number is a lot smaller. A lot of people, what they were doing like the last year or so, they were just kind of like taking a percentage of the CPR, 50%, 25%, just rough. And that's not the way to do it. There are so many factors involved. All right. And that's why, again, I don't like to use the word game changing if it's not game changing, but this is not necessarily game changing because people have been already using a multiple of the CPR. But if you guys were still using the full CPR, this probably could be game changing for you, because imagine the difference of giving away 100 units of something that maybe cost you $20 each. That's a couple $1,000, right? And now you're only having to give away 15 units to get to page 1, right? So this could be game changing for you. But this is not just a matter of, oh, we took the old CPR number and we did a percentage. We started completely from scratch. And here's the thing. We are incorporating Maldives Honeymoon strategies in this, what I call the static CPR number. In other words, we're taking a look at how many listings on page 1 have that keyword in phrase form in the title. That's right there in the static CPR now, all right? That was not even a factor in the old CPR number, all right? So that's straight out of the Maldives playbook, is we are taking a look at that. And so that right there, like I said, is available to you guys right now. There is so many things that went in, that were involved in this, but we basically created the formula based on these 1,500 case studies that we did, or 1,500 product launches. And we developed a formula with all of these metrics, and we examined tens of thousands of data points. Shout out to my assistant, Mel. Mel worked like night and day for a year on this too. And we were just tracking as many data points as possible. When the listing was created, was another metric that we were actually looking at too, to talk about the, when you get into the honeymoon period. We were just tracking all the data points that we could possibly think that we weren't sure had an impact. And we were able to develop this formula that when we reverse engineered it, it pretty much worked 88% of the time. All right. So 88% of the time, this new formula would have worked on these 1500, where it would bring a product that not on page 1 or not in the top 16 to one of the top 16 on page 1. So that's what the new CPR 3.0 with a touch of Maldives, guys, is active in your dashboard right now, and it's what you would take for a keyword to have the best chance to get to the top 16 positions with search, find, buy, and full price sales to get to page 1. But here's a new thing, guys. That's right there in Cerebro and Magnet. We have a new CPR that I'm calling the dynamic CPR number. It's still a CPR 3.0, but next level. We're going even above and beyond when it comes to the Maldives honeymoon strategy. All right. Now, in Keyword Tracker, if you add your product or anybody's product and a keyword, once it finds the rank, and if it's not in the top 16, we are going to there's some competitors back there in a speedboat who are trying to listen in on this. But anyways, by the way, guys, speaking of our competitors, I checked some top competitors, and they don't call their number CPR, but they have something similar and really bad, guys. Like, I sure hope you're not using those. I was like really, really bad. If you're using other softwares to kind of estimate how many you need to get to page 1, whew, I told you ours was 88% accurate. That was like 5% accurate. Really bad. Anyways, I digress. I'm not sure if those are our competitors or not. Anyways, by the way, guys, if you're listening on this on the radio, check out the YouTube version. You'll understand what I'm talking about, because I got boats going by me and everything here. What was I saying? Yes, new CPR, dynamic CPR, now in Keyword Tracker. You enter in your ASIN and you enter in a keyword, and if it's not in the top 16, you will have the amount needed to get to the top 16. And now this one is called a dynamic CPR because it's taking into consideration where you're ranking right now. All right, are you ranking at all? Are you ranking on page 3? Are you ranking on page 4? When was the listing created? All right, so like, are you going to get any Maldives love by being in the first few months of a listing's creation? Do you have the keyword in the title in phrase form? How many listings on page 1 of this keyword have it in the title in phrase form? It goes on and on. Like, there's tons and tons of these things that we have mentioned in the Maldives strategy, and that we also investigated with this case study we did with AZ Rank, where we incorporated it into this new dynamic CPR. So again, if you just want a quick glance at, in general, what it might take for you to get a keyword to page 1 or a product to page 1 for a keyword, just use the regular static CPR that's now showing up in Magnet and Cerebro. But if you really want to get a little bit more dialed in, all right, a little bit more accurate, and this one is a little bit more accurate than the other one, is put it in Keyword Tracker and put the ASIN and then put the keyword, and then once it starts getting a rank, have it on boost. It probably helps. We'll give you, based on a even more advanced formula that the static one's not taken into consideration, you will get even clearer picture on what it might get to page 1. Now, keep in mind that one thing we did not do is we're not factoring in things like, are you doing multiple keywords at the same time? Because remember, if you're doing that, which is part of the Maldives strategy, that means that number is going to be even less. All right. So, like, for example, I have this new the dynamic CPR. I've actually had it available to me for like 2 months, and I did some launches, and I still went even 50% less than the new CPR. And remember, this new CPR is like less than a quarter, sometimes a tenth of what the old CPR was. But I'm even going less than that because I know I can, since I'm using these other methods, such as launching multiple keywords at the same time. This is big news, guys. We're going to be talking about this in our webinar coming up soon. So make sure to go to helium10.com. You'll see on the main page there's an invitation to a new webinar. Or if you're watching this like weeks later, you can find that webinar at on our YouTube channel. But on June 10th, we have a webinar where we're going to talk about this new CPR number. But you guys are hearing about it first right here on the Serious Sellers Podcast. All right, so guys, in review, what have we learned today? Maldives honeymoon strategy still works. It's worked for me for Project 5K. It's worked for Project X. It works for our Helium 10 members out there who is posting in our Facebook group. It works for Alina at azrank.com. A lot of people are using these strategies to help them get to page 1. All right, so listen back at the original episode 200 to find out exactly the steps involved in the Maldives honeymoon strategy, and they even work on older listings when you're relaunching them as well. Also keep in mind that title has never been more important. I hope you found that from that one case study I gave you of that fake listing that I made about how important the title really is. If you guys want to see that title score sooner than later in Helium 10, make sure to send a message to Yaxi inside the Helium 10 suite. Other things we learned today, guys: brand new CPR. All Helium 10 members have access, all plans now, to 2 new CPRs, 3.0. The CPR version 3.0, which is now available in Magnet and Cerebro, and it's based on full price search, organic search, find, buy orders, not using URL, no discount codes, on what it might take to get to the top 16 positions on page 1. And if you want an even greater accurate one, use the dynamic CPR that is in Keyword Tracker. We never had CPR number in Keyword Tracker before. So guys, I hope you have been crushing it on Amazon so far this year. I hope you've been able to use some of these Maldives Honeymoon launch strategies to help you and your business. And what's next? I mean, this is episode 250. First of all, thanks to all of our listeners. We've, since almost day one, like from the very first episode with Manny Coates and I, and then the second episode with Kevin King, we pretty much became the number one listened to podcast for Amazon sellers in the world, and we've kept that position. So that's thanks to all of you guys out there. So appreciate all the support. 250 episodes. This has been a milestone. Thank you so much for the support. And what's next over the next 250 episodes? I don't know, but 300, we might have to do another Maldives one. 300 or 350 or something. I'm looking for any excuse to come here to the Maldives. So guys, thank you so much for joining me on this episode, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.